All right, we're recording. We're here with Dave Dragathon, Vice President of Marketing and Communications for Mount Hood
And,
Meadows.
Jeremy Riss, Vice President of Resort Operations for Mount Hood Meadows. Jeremy, how you doing?
Doing awesome, Dave.
Jeremy whipped up a really good presentation for us to take a look at.
When we're talking about how we're going to manage our peak days, the week after Christmas, the weekends in January, February, where we know that we're going to have more people that want to be up here than we're going to have availability for, and we're going to need to figure out how to manage that volume. We know that one of the biggest things that we can do to keep our team and our guests minimize the risk of infection and spreading COVID is to not overcrowd our resort. We want to make skiing and riding accessible to as many people as we can, but we also want to make sure that the people that are up here have a good experience and minimize their risk of exposure. Our strategies are, one, limiting new all access pass sales. We're going to have to be careful with the number of products we have out there that can be used anytime. There's some pass products that we've been able to sell in the past that we're probably going to have to eliminate. And we're also going to have to make some changes to our daily ticketing products.
There'll definitely be an emphasis on date specific and even time specific products as we move into the season.
I don't know if everybody knows this, but our lots are plowed by the snow park system. And part of being part of that snow park system is, one, our guests need to buy a snow park pass to park up here. Any lots that are plowed by that snow park system, they need to remain first come, first serve. We have a lot of pass holders that have already purchased their pass. We've also made some commitments to pass holders from last year that they can renew at a discount. We want to live up to those commitments, and we want to keep our pass holder experience as close as we can to what it's been in the past.
A lot of our focus is really going to be on those peak days, the days that everybody wants to come up to Mount Hood Meadows. You did a lot of work in this regard and found out that even our peak days have capacity on them.
That's totally right, Dave. This blue line is kind of a graph of our average visitation on a peak day. This is looking at actually peak days in January for the last 3 years on average. Starting on the left, we're starting at 9 a.m., which is our typical opening time. And on the right is all the way to the 8 p.m., 9 p.m. hour where we typically close. So you can see the visitation starts quite a bit higher and drops off through the day. Right around 10 a.m. is kind of our busiest time period on average on a peak day. Our busiest day ever over the last 3 years, I think we had about 5,200 folks skiing and riding at one time. That's not necessarily totally visits in a day. That's a number of folks riding at one time. And we thought, to start off with, we feel comfortable that we can have about 60% of that busiest day. 3,000 number kind of is derived from there. That cap may fluctuate through the season as we learn more. We understand what we can handle. And also, as you mentioned, the weather, if we have the upper mountain open, we can spread out. We know there's a lot less demand for our lodges on a sunny day than on a snowy day. So we're going to have to manage what that cap is depending on the day. So if you were to say that 3,000 visits at one time was our cap, and you see that blue line, we can look at that space that's above the cap here. What's really interesting is you could see that excess demand of that cap, that amount can easily fit later in the day. If we could get folks to shift their patterns of when they're visiting the resort from first thing in the morning to later in the day, we could still accommodate everybody that wants to come. We just need to spread them out more through the day than we have historically. And if you add up kind of all that hourly capacity, you can see that the capacity adds up to quite a bit more than the demand. So we certainly have the room, even on a peak day, for everybody that wants to be here if we could spread people out.
It's like if you took all the riders on our max days from between 9 and 10 and then added them to between 10 and 11 and added them between 11 and 12 and all the way through on our busiest days historically, the demand has been 27,000 chairlift rides. And you come up with a way to show that if we just spread it out at a reasonable capacity, that 3,000 level, we've got room for 36,000.
If you use that same 3,000 limit of guests here at one time, you can see on average, Saturdays and Sundays, we definitely exceed that, but you can see that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we almost never exceed that, right? We've got plenty of available capacity. So, if we can get our guests to spread out more into the midweek, which I think is maybe much more doable this year than any year, with more folks working from home, kids potentially out of school, I think hopefully our guests will have a little more flexibility with their schedule. So if we can incentivize folks to come midweek instead of weekends, we still have a great ability to accommodate everybody that wants to come as well in that way, if they can shift their schedule a little bit. Our available capacity versus our available demand, our capacity far exceeds our demand. Main strategy for achieving that kind of volume management that we're after is to spread out the demand both by time of day and by day of week.
This is going to be critically important this year because we just can't have the mass arrival that we have seen, between the hours of 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 9:30, where we are literally having 5,000, 6,000 people all crunch at Meadows all at the same time. Even if we're capable of handling that many people out on the hill, we'll be overwhelmed at our parking. We'll be overwhelmed at the lodge if everybody hits the lodge at the same time. We'll be overwhelmed right at the bottom of the lifts.
We need some incentives to try to spread folks out and encourage them to come a little later in the day so we don't have everybody trying to arrive at the same time. Basically, we're going to have to limit the number of products that are out there that folks can use anytime, that we don't really have control over when they're going to show up. For those products we do have, those all access products that are out there, we're going to have to accurately predict how many of those folks are going to show up at any one day. But luckily, we have a ton of historical data that can help us understand that. We made commitments to our pass holders from last season that they could renew at a discount for this year. And we need to honor those commitments. So through November 8th, which is our typical early season deadline, renewing pass holders are going to have the ability to renew their pass at the discount. So where the limits are going to come in is for new pass purchasers. We're going to have a maximum number of all access passes that we're selling. New folks that were wanting to purchase a pass, those are going to run out at some point. The 5-time, 10-time, and beginner progression passes, we're not going to sell those new passes because we need to limit those number of products. The one exception to that is we did commit to offering the 5-time pass at a $50 discount and the 10-time pass at a $100 discount to those that have passed last year. We're going to offer those just to those renewing pass holders, but not to new pass purchasers. If our pass holders from last season, if they renew by November 8th, they will get that discount and we will not limit their purchases. What percentage of our all access pass holders are up here during any 1 hour time period?
History says less than 1 in 5 are actually going to be up at Meadows during any given hour.
The next thing we're going to need to do is for our ticketing products. We're going to need to limit the inventory of tickets available for any one time period.
Here we go with dynamic ticket pricing.
So we're going to offer 3 different lengths of tickets, a 4-hour, a 7-hour, and a kind of open to close ticket or a 2 close ticket. And then we'll have 4 start times for tickets, 2 start times on days with no night skiing, but 4 start times on days with night skiing. And essentially, the idea is that the later in the day you can start, the more of a discount we can give you on your ticket to try to adjust that demand later in the day. Daily lift ticket lesson and rental purchases, you're going to have to purchase in advance. We're not going to be selling lift lesson and rental day of up at the resort because we need to know in advance who's going to come. If your product is an adult 7-hour ticket, you'll see these different prices for different start times and different days of the week. So if you want to come up at 9 a.m. on a Saturday on a peak day, it's going to cost you more of a premium. But if I was willing to shift to start at 2 p.m., I could get that same product for maybe $70 cheaper. We're hoping to use this pricing to encourage guests to shift their behavior. They can get a great deal if they can shift the time that they are willing to ski. If starting at 9 a.m. is super important to you, then if you can shift to a Tuesday at 9 a.m., it's still going to be cheaper than coming on a Saturday. The times that are most demand, we make those a higher price, and the times that we have the capacity we offer some great deals. Our tickets are dynamically priced, so these aren't the prices that they're always going to be.
You'll have the ability to shut off, say, a 9 a.m. ticket if we anticipate that that Saturday, let's say January 16th, that we're going to be maxing out that morning. You can shut off the 9 a.m. and then push people to arrive at noon or push people to arrive at 2.
As the quantity becomes less, the price will go up. Guests should purchase early, and for those busiest time frames, we probably will sell out of tickets. There will be a limited number available to start at 9, and once those are gone, your only options for that day might be to start at noon or 2 o'clock.
And by managing how many people we expect are going to come to Meadows, that's how we're also managing the space in our parking lot. And we've seen this, we've tracked this with our pass holders. They're the ones that do like to arrive early, and they're also the ones that like to leave early. So they may come in, they may get their 2-3 hours, and then all of a sudden we have spaces opening up in our lots to make room for people that are going to be coming in for their 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock start.
As much as we can, we want to encourage those who normally buy an all access pass to purchase the value pass. The value pass is going to be cheaper and a better deal.
They are good every single day, starting at 9 o'clock, except for the peak days. But on the peak days, they start at 2 o'clock. So you get access every single day. And we've had great success already since we introduced this product over the last couple of years of seeing shifting behavior towards the off-peak timeframes, because let's face it, that value pass is an incredible deal. An extra hour that a value pass holder would be able to get up to Cascade or Vista on the days those are running, or even back into Heather Canyon, which are our earlier closing lifts. So that's a great deal for a value pass holder.
And that's kind of our whole goal, is to accommodate everybody that wants to be here, but to spread that demand out to when we have available capacity. And that'll not only minimize the risk of spreading COVID, but it also improve the guest experience. Historically, the week before Christmas, we have blacked out that value pass, but at the same time, it's rare that we're actually at our capacity that week. So we've gone ahead and not restricted that week this year. So that's a week a lot of people have flexibility or time off work. That'll make the value pass more attractive as well. We want to promote our night pass as well as a very cost-effective option. I think it's $159 this year, and that's quite a bit cheaper than the value or all access pass. So if you're willing to ski and ride at night, you can do it for a great deal.
And likewise to what we do with the value pass, the night pass starts at 2 o'clock instead of at 3 o'clock as it has in the past. So with your night pass, you're getting an extra hour of daylight riding at Mounted Meadows.
The 3-time midweek ticket that we've been selling in the past, that has been very popular. It's kind of midweek non-holiday. We're going to continue to sell that. And then the last thing, kind of as we covered, we want to use limited quantity of day tickets to encourage our guests to purchase during less busy time. So we want to try to shift our guest pattern of behavior to purchase in the afternoon, evenings on the peak days, or midweek as much as we can to kind of spread out that demand to when we have available capacity.
We hope that this presentation helps everybody understand the logic that we're in, the approach that we're taking to maximize the amount of people that can come up and enjoy Mounted Meadows, but at the same time manage that flow and volume of visitors so that we can also provide the social distancing that this COVID environment is created for us. So lots of thought into this, and man, congratulations, Jeremy, and everybody else that's been working hard to make this the best season possible at Meadows.
Thanks, Dave. The team's put a lot of hard work into it, and I hope this works well for our pass holders and our guest experience overall this year.